My older daughter threw a party, and I caught her classmates who mistreated my younger daughter. I'm devastated. This whole situation has left me heartbroken and in tears. To give you a little background, I'm a widow with 3 children, but this story is mainly about my 2 youngest daughters, Leah, who's 14, and Maya, who's 18. Back in December, Leah was harmed by a group of boys who attended the party Maya hosted while I was working the night shift. The boys' behavior was unforgivable, and it's been devastating for our family, to say the least. Leah hasn't been the same since. She's lost her love for cheerleading, and she's even opted to finish her freshman year by taking online courses instead of attending school. She doesn't sleep in her room anymore. She stays with me, wearing my late husband's hoodies. As her mother, I feel completely helpless, unsure how to guide her through this. As the investigation unfolded, a lot of details came to light about Maya's role in all of this. While I don't think Maya intended for this to happen, I do believe she was irresponsible. If she had just followed my rules, everything could have been avoided. I never approved of the party. I left Maya in charge of Leah, and before anyone says, well, she's not the parent you are, let me explain. It was her responsibility. I pay Maya to look after her sister when I work nights, and we've had this arrangement for years. Leah doesn't have any special needs. All I asked of Maya was to make sure her sister did her homework and went to bed at a reasonable hour. Maya invited the boys who harmed Leah, and she knew them personally. She was even aware that some of them had questionable backgrounds but didn't seem to care. From what we've learned, Maya tried to set Leah up with one of the boys, but Leah wasn't interested. This boy bothered her all night, trying to pressure her into things she didn't want. Eventually, Leah had enough and went to her room to get away from him. At some point, Maya left the house to grab food. And that's when the boy and his friends entered Leah's room and assaulted her. The hardest part for me is that people at the party heard Leah shouting, but no one did anything. They just assumed it was a disagreement between 2 people. We didn't find out the full extent of what happened until the next morning after everyone had left. Taking Leah to the hospital and going through the process of gathering evidence was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life as a mother. To make matters worse, a few weeks later, Leah tested positive for a curable illness, which has only deepened her emotional scars. Leah has been broken ever since. Although they did catch the boys, and all 4 were found guilty because there was evidence on their phones, it hasn't brought much comfort. The damage done to her is something that will take a long time to heal. It's been incredibly hard for Leah right now, but Maya, on the other hand, has been remorseful. Surprisingly, Leah holds no anger towards her. She doesn't blame Maya and still loves her sister deeply, but I can't understand why. As for me, I'm consumed by anger. I've been trying, really trying, to forgive Maya, but I just can't. Right now, every time I look at her, I feel this overwhelming urge to lash out. Her prom is next weekend, and to be honest, I couldn't care less. She tries to talk to me, attempts to start conversations, but I can barely muster the energy to show any interest. I don't hate my daughter, I really don't. I still love her. But right now, I can't help but feel this deep sense of dislike toward her. I've been reading self-help books, trying to figure out how to deal with this properly. But I feel like I have no one to talk to about it in real life. I guess this is my cry for help as a mother. Edit. Thank you for all the feedback. One question I keep seeing over and over is whether Maya still watches Leah. The answer is absolutely not. I don't trust her anymore, and it's going to take years, if ever, for that trust to come back. I'm currently on a leave of absence from work to focus on Leah. As for therapy, Leah isn't in it right now. She told me she's not ready, but I think once the sentencing is over, she might be open to the idea. Maya is supposed to be in therapy too, but she skips a lot of her sessions. I'm in therapy myself, and honestly, it's the only thing helping me stay calm and not lose it on Maya every time I see her. The one piece of advice I keep hearing, and I'm strongly considering it, is sending Maya to live with my parents for a while. Maybe we both need some space from each other. Quick edit. For those wondering if Maya is involved with a gang, to my knowledge, she isn't. The worst I've caught her doing is smoking pot and vaping. I also don't believe Maya intentionally set up her sister to be hurt. I'm leaning toward the idea that she was just incredibly neglectful that night. If she had done it on purpose, I think it would have come up during the investigation. The boy Maya was trying to push Leah toward was 17 at the time, he's 18 now, and the other 3 were grown men. Update. Maya was arrested the night of Leah's attack. She was charged with felony child endangerment and 2 misdemeanors. The judge went easy on her, honestly. She was fined $2,000, sentenced to 60 hours of community service, and put on probation for 3 years. I also took her car away. Looking back, maybe I should have been harsher with her punishment, but at the time I thought it was enough. To summarize, on Thursday afternoon, Maya and I got into a huge argument. The fight started because Leah came to me, visibly upset and on the verge of tears. Apparently, 5 different people had messaged her. That day, 5 different people reached out to Leah, expressing their condolences about what had happened to her. Leah had been very clear. She didn't want anyone to know she was the victim. When I investigated further, I found out that Maya had told a group chat of 27 people that Leah was the victim of the attack. Leah came to me, completely humiliated. She said she couldn't ever face going back to school after this. I was furious and immediately confronted Maya. But instead of apologizing, she brushed me off. She kept saying I was overreacting and that Leah was being dramatic. I tried to explain how deeply she'd hurt her sister, hoping she'd see the damage she had done. But Maya didn't seem to get it. She cut me off in the middle of my lecture, snapping, "Jesus Christ, Mom, you need to let her deal with this," instead of always rushing to defend her. Leah's not different from other women who go through this stuff. At least they don't make it their whole personality like she does. Besides, she's fine. I literally heard her talking to a boy on the phone last night. That moment hit me like a punch in the gut. It was like Maya's mask had slipped. She wasn't remorseful at all. I was staring at someone who didn't care about the pain she had caused. I couldn't take it anymore. I just said, "Pack your answer. You're staying with my parents until I say otherwise." And that's exactly what she did. The next morning, I got a text from Maya, asking me to meet her at her therapist's appointment later that day. Looking back, I wish I hadn't gone. Her therapist spent most of the session defending Maya's point of view. It started with Maya apologizing and explaining why she told her friends about Leah. It was because she was venting and didn't think it was a big deal since the case had been on the news. Leah had been listed as Jane Doe, so her name wasn't publicly tied to the case. But that didn't matter to me. Maya didn't seem to grasp the seriousness of what she had done. Then we got to the heart of it. Maya, sitting there in front of her therapist, told me she felt emotionally neglected by me. She claimed that I didn't care about her trauma from the whole situation. Her trauma being that she had to stay in jail for a weekend and lost a friend, who, by the way, was one of Leah's rapists. I wish I were kidding, but I'm not. She was genuinely upset that she lost the friendship of someone who destroyed her sister's life. For the next 30 minutes, the therapist guilt-tripped me for not being more emotionally supportive of Maya. She said I should understand Maya's pain, especially since their father is gone. But here's the thing. Call me an awful parent if you want. I can't bring myself to be emotionally there for Maya if it means mourning the loss of her friendship with one of the monsters who ruined Leah. The therapist was completely out of line, especially when she started downplaying what happened to Leah. Maya's therapist kept referring to what happened to Leah as an accident, and even went so far as to say Leah seems happier these days. That's what Maya has been telling her when, in reality, Leah is barely hanging on. She's heavily medicated with antidepressants and still scores extremely low on every mental health evaluation. Maya is painting this picture of her sister being fine when she's anything but. Leah is still a shell of herself. If you can handle it, I need to get graphic for a moment to explain the outburst I had during that session. What I said to both Maya and the therapist was this. I think it's absolutely disgusting that the two of you are refusing to acknowledge Leah's trauma and dismissing it as some accident. Maya spent a weekend in jail while her sister spent days in the hospital, dealing with the aftermath of something that Maya's so-called friend did to her. Ironically enough, if Maya ever actually listened to Leah, she would know that this friend of hers was the most violent during the attack, the one who caused the majority of Leah's injuries, including almost strangling her to death. So for Maya to sit there, Crying about losing a friend, when that friend destroyed her sister's life, is beyond disgusting. In that moment, I looked at Maya and said, "My biggest regret is helping you get a lawyer. I should have left you to rot in that cell and let you figure it out yourself." Maya broke down sobbing, saying it wasn't fair that I blamed her for what happened to Leah. She claimed she was only trying to get Leah to come out of her shell, because Leah was staying too close to her at the party, hovering around her. The therapist then asked Maya, "How did Leah respond when you apologized to her?" And Maya, in the most defensive, cold tone, said, "Apologize for what? I didn't rape her." The room went silent. Even the therapist was shocked. That was it for me. I stood up, threw my hands in the air, and walked out. I haven't spoken to Maya since that moment, and this happened on Friday afternoon. Since then, she's been texting and calling, begging to come home so she can apologize to both me and Leah. But I don't know anymore. I never thought I'd be the parent who would consider going no contact with their own child, but I honestly don't know if I can stomach being around her right now. She's not remorseful, and the trust is completely shattered. A part of me wants to try to fix things for Leah's sake because yesterday, Leah asked me if she ruined our family. That question broke me. Leah loves and looks up to Maya, and she's still not able to grasp that Maya failed her in a way that can't be undone. Leah can't comprehend that her big sister, who she adores, let this happen. I'm stuck. Am I wrong for not being able to understand Maya? I'm sorry this isn't a happy update, but this is where we are. That morning, I came home around 8:30 a.m. after a long night at work, and the first thing I saw was the disaster my house had turned into. It was trashed. A couple of Maya's friends were still there, lounging around like nothing was wrong. It was obvious they had thrown a party, and I could feel my blood boiling. I confronted Maya right away, and we got into it. I couldn't believe she had done this while I wasn't home. After some back and forth, I walked away, frustrated, and went to check on Leah. But when I got to her room, she wasn't there. Her bed had bloodstains on it. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was just her time of the month, I thought. Maybe she's in the shower or fell asleep in my bed. I tried to stay calm, but something felt off. I checked my room, but she wasn't there either. Panic started to creep in. I called her phone, hoping for some sort of answer. That's when I heard the ringtone, coming from my closet. It's a walk-in closet, and as soon as I opened the door, I saw her. Leah was wrapped up tightly in a blanket like a cocoon, and she wasn't moving. My heart stopped. I rushed over, shaking her, trying to wake her up, but she didn't respond. I unwrapped her as fast as I could, and that's when I saw it. Her scalp was bleeding, and there were marks around her neck. I felt like the ground had just fallen out from under me. I screamed for someone to call 911, my voice cracking with fear. In the ambulance, Leah started to wake up, but she was crying, barely able to speak. Through her tears, she told me that one of Maya's friends had hurt her. She was in so much pain she couldn't even move. My heart shattered. In that moment, everything else disappeared. Maya, the party, the mess. None of it mattered. All I could think about was Leah and what she'd just gone through. I didn't care about anything else. I told Maya to tell the truth to the police and that she'd be fine. I was in shock. I had no idea how deep this nightmare went. When the police and paramedics arrived, they took Leah to the station, and Maya was questioned. After they saw Leah's medical report, they charged Maya with child endangerment. I didn't see her reaction when they told her, but after she got out of jail, I remember her hugging Leah. For a split second, it looked sweet, like she really cared. But now, looking back, it feels hollow. One thing that has always bothered me is that Maya wasn't fully honest when the police asked her for her friends' names. She claimed she couldn't remember, which seemed like a lie. But thank God the DNA results came through, and they found all 4 of the men who hurt Leah. They were already in the system for other crimes, and one of them was even on probation. After that, it all came crashing down. Meanwhile, my oldest son had just gotten married about a month before this nightmare started. I didn't want to drag him into the mess with Maya. He deserved to enjoy his new life with his wife. But even through all of this, he and his wife have been nothing but supportive. His wife takes Leah for sleepovers or just out of the house, giving her a break from everything. Leah has been through so much, and she's only 14. In just a few years, she's lost her father and now has to deal with this horror. It breaks my heart to watch her struggle with so much pain and trauma. I remember being 14 myself, and life was hard enough without anything like this. I can't even begin to imagine the weight she carries every day. It feels like the world is against me, but growing up, I always had both of my parents by my side. I've never experienced an assault, so I can't even begin to comprehend what my daughter is going through right now. This morning, I overheard her crying in the bathroom. When I asked if she was okay, she quickly brushed it off, saying she was fine. But I know she's not. As her mom, it breaks me. I feel so helpless. There's nothing I can do to take away the pain she's feeling. I can't even fully relate to her because I've never been through something like this. Both my parents are still alive, and I've never lost anyone in the same way she lost her dad, or gone through the trauma she's experienced. It makes me feel like a terrible mother, like I'm failing her. I don't have all the answers. Every time I try to comfort her, I can feel her thinking, "What is this woman even talking about?" And honestly, I don't blame her because 99.9% of the time, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. If there are any other moms out there who have been through something similar, please, I'm begging for advice. I have 3 kids, M24, F18, and F14. My husband passed away very suddenly 4 years ago, which was another massive blow to our family. He didn't have a will, but we had a life insurance policy that provided $360,000. As his spouse, I received the full amount. I decided to divide the money equally among myself and our 3 kids. I took $120,000, and each of the kids was set to receive $80,000. At the time, both my daughters were still minors, so I told them they'd get access to their full amount when they turned 18. But I let them know if they ever needed something expensive, they could ask, and I'd allow them to dip into their share. For the most part, I took care of their needs myself. My son was already 18, so I gave him his share immediately. It wasn't a formal agreement, just a promise I made to them, and I fully intended to keep it. Recently, though, things have gotten much more complicated. My middle daughter, who I'll call M, was arrested in December for child endangerment. She neglected her younger sister in a way that led to something terrible happening under her care. M had to use $8,000 of her share to cover lawyer and court fees, which left her with about $65,000. Fast forward to today, and my youngest daughter is still struggling. Her mental health is in shambles. Every time she has a checkup, her scores are extremely low, and she's on a high dose of antidepressants. She even jokes that if she told us or the doctors how she really feels, they'd probably put her in a psych ward. Kills me to hear her talk like that, but I know it's not just a joke. She's hurting deeply. Maya doesn't live with us anymore. After everything that happened, I felt like her presence was only making things worse for her sister. She's staying with my parents for now, but she keeps asking me for the rest of the money I promised her after she graduated. But with everything that's happened, I'm torn. I'm torn to pieces over what to do about Maya's inheritance. My sister, who knows everything, insists that Maya doesn't deserve the money after what happened. She thinks I should use it to stay home longer with my youngest, especially with her mental health crumbling before my eyes. School's out, and soon I'll have to go back to work. But the thought of leaving my daughter alone during the day terrifies me. She's been spiraling, and I'm afraid of what might happen if I'm not there. At the same time, Maya's getting ready to leave for college, and I know most of the money would go toward that. But I'm still holding on to so much anger for the pain she's caused. Every time I think about it, the question echoes louder in my mind. What if I just kept the money? What if it's the only way to protect my youngest? Many of you have asked what my husband would have wanted if he were still here, and that's what makes this so difficult. On one hand, I know he cared deeply about education. He would have wanted Maya to have the chance to go to college, no matter what. But on the other hand, if he knew the full truth, if he knew what really happened to Leah under Maya's care, I don't think he'd ever forgive her. He'd be furious, brutal even. Maybe he would have cut her off completely. That's what makes this decision so unbearable. I can't know for sure what he would have done. And now, things with Leah have taken a darker turn. She's only 14, And ever since the trauma she faced last December, she's been unraveling. But this past week, it's been one of the worst. It's like a storm has settled over our home, and I don't know how to stop it. Last Tuesday, 2 officials came to our door. The moment I saw their faces, my heart sank. They told me that one of the men involved in Leah's case, the one who filmed everything, had shared it online. The video was out there, circulating in places I can't even bear to think about. It was filmed in Leah's own room, and the objects in the video made it clear where she went to school. As they spoke, I felt the ground drop out from beneath me. My stomach twisted, and I could barely breathe. It was as if the nightmare we had been trying to escape had found its way back into our lives, stronger and more terrifying than ever. But Leah's reaction, that shook me to my core. She didn't cry. She didn't break down. She just shrugged, like she'd known this was coming all along. "I figured," she said in a hollow voice, before falling into complete silence. The officials reassured us that it's rare for the people who share these things to make direct contact, but they felt obligated to warn us. After they left, Leah acted like nothing had happened. She put on this strange, overly cheerful front, pretending everything was fine, but I could see through it. I knew she was crumbling inside. I've tried so many times to talk to her, to break through this wall she's put up, but she avoids the conversation every single time. It's like she's shutting out the world, refusing to let anyone in. And this behavior continued all week, until, out of nowhere, she told me she had written a victim impact statement. She said she wants to read it herself in court. She doesn't want the prosecutor to do it for her. Leah believes no one really understands what she endured that night, and she wants her voice to be heard. Her statement is raw, an unfiltered account of everything she went through, but she hasn't been able to read it to me all the way through yet. Each time she tries, the pain overwhelms her, and she breaks down before she can finish. I can feel the weight of her trauma, the unbearable burden she's carrying. And I'm terrified because I don't know how to help her carry it. Tears filled Leah's eyes every time she tried to read that victim impact statement. It was the only time all week I had seen her show any real emotion. Until Saturday night. That evening, Leah was unusually cheerful again, smiling and acting as though everything was perfectly normal. She mentioned she was tired and wanted to go to bed early, around 8 p.m. I didn't think much of it at the time. It wasn't out of character for her to go to bed early when she was emotionally drained. But a couple of hours later, I got a phone call that sent a cold wave of fear through me. It was Leah's friend's mother. She was worried because Leah had sent her daughter a message, a note that expressed love, gratitude, and a strange, unsettling goodbye. Leah had even asked her to check on her. My heart raced as I hung up the phone and sprinted to Leah's room. When I opened her door, my world came crashing down. Leah had tried to overdose on ZZZ-Quil. As a nurse, I knew she'd recover physically, but nothing could prepare me for the sight of my baby lying there like that. My hands shook as I called 911. The fear, the helplessness, it was suffocating. When she woke up in the hospital, it was like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Her eyes were wild, filled with pain and anger as she screamed at me. "Why couldn't you just let me die? I want to die, Mom. I'm tired of feeling their hands on me. I want it to stop. Please, let me die." I felt something break inside me in that moment. She was screaming so loudly, and I just couldn't reach her. They had to sedate her to calm her down. But those words, they haunt me. They play over and over in my mind, like a dark echo I can't escape. Afterward, Leah was placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold and then transferred to a mental health facility specifically for teens her age. The staff recommended extending her stay beyond the initial hold, but Leah is struggling there, too. She told me about a male staff member, possibly a psychiatrist, who's been asking invasive questions about her sexuality. She says it makes her feel uncomfortable and unsafe. It's no surprise she's avoiding group activities, staying standoffish. I'm not sure this inpatient setting is the right place for her. They've even suggested restricting her ability to contact me as a consequence for her withdrawal, but I begged them not to. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing her, and her constant plea for death, the way she screamed for me to let her go. It's a thought I can't shake. It haunts my every moment. Leah's best friend shared even more with me. Things Leah had been keeping to herself. There's a cruel, hurtful rumor going around that Leah willingly let boys take advantage of her, and she only went to the police out of shame. The gossip has been spreading like wildfire, and I'm heartbroken by how cruel kids can be. The weight of all this is crushing Leah. As for Maya, my 18-year-old daughter, I haven't spoken to her in 2 weeks. And now, I've started to understand why Leah feels such guilt toward her. 2 years ago, I discovered inappropriate messages on Leah's phone between her and Maya's ex-boyfriend. He had been telling Leah how much prettier she was than Maya, that he loved her, and even made comments about her being a virgin. Leah was only 12 at the time. He was 17. When I told Maya, she was furious. She broke up with him immediately, but she felt utterly betrayed by Leah, despite Leah's age and the manipulation involved. Maya didn't speak to her for 3 long months after that, no matter how many times Leah apologized. Even now, Maya still holds a grudge. Leah blames herself for destroying their relationship, and it's like this burden she can't let go of. I've been carrying these secrets for so long, trying to be strong, trying to hold everything together, but I'm breaking under the weight of it all. I just needed to get this off my chest. I'm drowning in the struggles within our family, doing everything I can to protect my daughters, but the weight of it all is suffocating. Every day, it feels like I'm facing a new challenge, and I'm exhausted. The cracks are deepening, and I don't know how to mend them. Now, I'm faced with an agonizing decision. Is Leah mentally prepared to speak at her rapist's sentencing? My heart aches at the thought of her reliving that night in front of everyone. But part of me worries she'll resent me if I stop her from taking that stand. Is she stable enough for something so potentially traumatic, especially when those boys, those monsters, are bringing character witnesses to defend them? I don't know how to make the right call. Update 3. I talked to Leah more about why she felt so uncomfortable with the psychiatrist. What she told me chilled me. When I left, they made her sit down with him one-on-one for a debriefing, where she opened up about what had happened, the assault. But then, things took a turn. He asked her if that was her only sexual experience, and she said yes. But he wouldn't stop asking. He kept questioning her, as if he didn't believe her answer, as if there was more she wasn't telling. He even said, "I won't tell your mom if there's more, you can say it." And Leah had to repeatedly insist that it was her only experience. Then, he started asking about her sexuality, if she was still attracted to men. Leah told him she wasn't thinking about relationships right now, but it made her uncomfortable. Felt wrong. She was alone with him in that room, the door closed, and he was asking about her sex life. Leah felt weird, and honestly, so do I. I don't want to accuse him of anything improper. Maybe he was just doing his job, but shouldn't he have known better? Shouldn't there have been a female staff member present for a conversation like that, especially after seeing her chart? Update 4. This update has been long awaited, and so much has happened. First, the good news. Leah started therapy after the sentencing, and surprisingly, she's been feeling good about it. She told me it was a relief that she didn't have to constantly talk about the assault with her therapist, which was a refreshing change. Her therapist also recommended eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, therapy to help with her trauma. Leah's first session is scheduled for next week, and I'm hopeful this will help her heal. Her general doctor even cleared her to start cheerleading again, something that used to bring her so much joy. The doctor also recommended she start birth control, but I'm hesitant. I've read about how it can impact mental health, and with Leah just starting to make progress, I don't want to risk setting her back. We also moved into a new rental house, and I let Leah get a kitten. That kitten is her baby now. I barely see it because Leah's always carrying it around or playing with it. It's like the cat is giving her something to hold on to, something to love, in a way she hasn't been able to for herself. To help with her healing, I had to make another tough decision. We ended up trashing most of Leah's old furniture. It felt symbolic, a fresh start, free from the painful memories tied to her old room. I've been trying to give her a fresh space, a room that feels safe, almost like something you'd see on Pinterest. But no matter how much we change the physical space, I know the emotional scars run deeper. I've been trying to create the room of Leah's dreams, but it's been harder than I thought. She's not into the things she used to like, and now she barely wants any color in her space. It's still a work in progress, but I want to give her a place that feels like a fresh start, even if it takes time. She's also started seeing someone. Her boyfriend asked her out on the 4th, and he's age-appropriate. I know the kid, his dad and I grew up together, so I know he comes from a good family. But there's something about their relationship that worries me. It feels like Leah might be becoming dependent on him. If he's not physically at our house, they're always on FaceTime, and whenever we go out, she insists he comes along. It's been like this for a while, even before he officially asked her out. I'd say it started when Maya moved out. I'm trying not to overthink it, though. It's summer. It's a new relationship, and maybe it's just that newness keeping her so attached. For now, she seems content, and after everything, that feels like a small win. But lately, I've been receiving a lot of negative messages from people who think I'm not doing enough or moving fast enough. Some criticized me for not telling my son everything sooner. I almost didn't want to make this post because of that, but I need to say this. I know my children, and they know me. I've always been someone who values timing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions or make decisions based on assumptions. That's why I wanted to meet with the detective who interrogated Maya before telling my other kids everything. I needed to know I had done everything possible to hold Maya accountable for her actions. When I finally met with the detective, he explained that while he did investigate Maya, there wasn't enough evidence to take further legal action. Even after everything I told him, it just wasn't enough. All they could do was charge her with child endangerment for leaving Leah, a minor, in a house with someone who should not have been there. But then, he said something that sent chills down my spine. He validated my worst fears. He reassured me that Maya's actions, or rather, her inactions, played a significant role in what happened to Leah. He told me that, based on their investigation, Leah had been in a vulnerable situation for nearly 2 hours, during which 2 of the individuals involved had the chance to harm her more than once. And yet, Maya never went upstairs to check on her. She showed no concern during the entire ordeal. That detail, it felt like a dagger to the heart. How could Maya ignore the situation for so long? The detective said he had worked on many difficult cases before, but this one disturbed him deeply. What shook him the most was the number of bystanders who sensed something was wrong but did nothing. Everyone failed Leah, not just Maya, and he advised me to keep that in mind. I met with my son and his wife before the sentencing. My son wasn't as angry as I expected. He was more disappointed. He said he had a gut feeling about Maya but hoped she wouldn't have done something like this intentionally. He admitted that both he and his wife had long suspected Maya was jealous of Leah. My son said he noticed it when Leah started to grow into herself, when she got her braces off and began attracting attention from some of Maya's friends. I guess Leah had always been seen as the nicer sister, and that didn't sit well with Maya. My daughter-in-law echoed his feelings, saying she had always felt there was an underlying tension between the 2 sisters that went deeper than we realized. As Leah grew up, the differences between the 2 became more obvious. Leah's softer nature and the way people gravitated toward her. Maya, on the other hand, had always been more assertive, more outspoken. And perhaps, in her eyes, that was supposed to make her the center of attention. But when Leah started to bloom, that dynamic shifted. Now, sitting with all this information, I can't stop replaying the detective's words in my mind. The image of Leah enduring those hours of suffering while Maya stayed downstairs, uncaring, haunts me. How could she have just ignored it? And yet, there's this nagging part of me that wonders. Did she know? Did she feel it in her gut and decide to turn away? Or was she truly that disconnected? I'm stuck between anger and heartbreak. I want to believe that Maya didn't fully grasp the weight of what was happening, but I also can't ignore the reality of her choices. I have to keep telling myself what the detective said. Everyone failed Leah, not just Maya. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. It doesn't make me any less fearful of what comes next for my girls. Leah, at least, is trying to heal in her own way. With the new therapist, the kitten she adores, and the room we're still putting together, I can see small signs of progress. But the weight of what she's been through is far too much for any 14-year-old to carry, and I fear it's shaping her future in ways I can't control. As for Maya, I haven't spoken to her in weeks. Part of me doesn't know if I'm ready to. How do you face your child after learning she had a part in something so devastating, even if indirectly? How do you reconcile the love you have for your daughter with the overwhelming disappointment that shadows every thought? Feels like there's no easy way forward. I'm trying to keep everything from falling apart, but it's like I'm standing in quicksand. No matter what I do, I keep sinking deeper. And through it all, the one thing that keeps playing in my mind is Leah's voice from that hospital bed, begging me to let her give up. That's the hardest part. No matter how hard I try to keep my family together, I'm terrified I'll lose her to the darkness that's been chasing her ever since that night. My daughter-in-law, Dil, shared something she saw firsthand during the bridesmaid dress fitting. Maya wouldn't give Leah a compliment, even though she looked great, and instead nitpicked every detail. When my Dil told Maya that Leah would realize how much potential she had once she embraced her beauty and stopped caring about what people thought, Maya said, "I know, and that's why I have to knock her down a peg." My Dil thought it was an odd thing to say but didn't dwell on it until now. They also told me that Maya blocked them on social media right after I kicked her out of the house. Now, it all fits together. The sentencing wasn't as intense as I had prepared myself for. Leah said at first she found it boring. The character witnesses for the boys were mostly their parents, predictably. One mom claimed that the entire situation was awful for everyone and said we should stop spreading more pain. Another dad claimed that his son had been through something terrible when he was Leah's age, and that somehow, Leah had brought it out in him. Leah told me she didn't let their words get to her, but I could tell it lingered on her mind a bit. Leah decided to record her victim impact statement and present it on video, and I couldn't have been prouder. All 4 of the boys made statements to the judge, apologizing, but Leah didn't look at them. She listened but felt that only one of them sounded like he was truly sorry. The others sounded robotic, as if they were just going through the motions. 2 of them were sentenced to 10 years but could be out in as little as 6. The one who filmed it got 12 years because of his previous record, and the prosecutor said he might be in for over 20 years because of a separate charge related to inappropriate material. The one Leah feared most, Maya's so-called friend, got 14 years. The judge noted that he should serve the full sentence with no parole, as he had been in trouble for something similar before. Leah was satisfied with the outcome, although she wished they all had received 14 years. She'll be notified if any of them are released early or have parole hearings. Maya was at the sentencing, according to my son, but she stayed way in the back and left immediately after the court adjourned. Some of the families tried to approach Leah to apologize directly, and that was the only thing that unsettled her. Other than that, I think she handled it well. On the drive back home, we started to talk through everything that had happened, and I explained what the next steps in the process would be. When we got home, Leah told me something that stopped me cold. She said it was strange that one of the defendants referred to Maya as his friend, because there was no way Maya would be friends with someone like that. My heart sank when she said that. I knew it was time to come clean, so I said, "There's a lot I've been meaning to tell you about why I'm upset with your sister." She looked confused, so I explained everything. How Maya had been arrested for abandoning her that night. Maya wasn't arrested for throwing the party. She didn't care about that. When I told Leah the truth, I said, "He wasn't lying in court. He really was your sister's friend. And Maya went behind your back that night to try and set you 2 up." That's when I saw it. The moment of realization hit Leah like a freight train. At first, she thought I was lying, but as I explained further, it was like watching her heart break right in front of me. She cut me off and said, "I don't believe you. Maya would never be friends with someone that awful." I just told her, maybe they weren't best friends, but she definitely had some kind of relationship with him. Leah's response cut deep. "Mom, that's really bad if it's true. No one knows how awful he was to me all day. I had to sit in that courtroom and listen to people say what a great person he was, and it's not true. Why doesn't anyone believe that?" I started apologizing to her, feeling powerless. Then, right in front of me, she pulled out her phone and called Maya. When Maya answered, her voice was cheerful, "Hello." But Leah didn't waste any time. She asked, "Were you ever friends with him?" Honestly, I thought Maya was going to lie, but she didn't. She admitted, yes, she was. Leah pressed further, asking, "Did you try to set me up with him?" Maya told the truth again. Yes, she had. Leah hung up on her before Maya could explain herself. Then, Leah started shaking, her fingers moving fast as she typed on her phone. That's when I realized she was blocking Maya on everything. When she finished, she looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears, and asked, "Mom, why does she hate me so much? What did I ever do to her? I've been trying so hard to be her friend, and she still hates me. Why?" We cried together for the rest of the day, unable to process the full weight of what had just unfolded. The next morning, Leah was different. She told me she was done with Maya, at least for a while. After sleeping on it, she felt more anger than sadness. She opened up even more, telling me how Maya had manipulated her, making her feel guilty and saying she ruined her senior year. Maya had even made Leah feel like everything that happened was her fault for not being more careful and not locking the door. But now Leah knew the truth. She had locked the door. Maya had far more control over the situation than she had let Leah believe, and that realization made her furious. Then, Leah dropped another bombshell. She told me that Maya had been struggling with a drug problem, Adderall and painkillers. Leah had promised to keep it a secret because Maya swore she was quitting. When I asked her when this all started, Leah said she wasn't sure but that she had caught Maya stealing her concerta back in April 2023. That's when Maya confessed to having a problem. Leah also told me she suspected that one of the boys involved was Maya's dealer, as he used to come to our house late at night when I was at work. Now, Leah believes that Maya may have traded her for drugs and never quit, like she had promised. Maya had promised Leah she was quitting, and that broken promise cuts her deeply. Leah also told me something that haunts her. During the assault, one of the attackers threatened her, saying that if she didn't cooperate, they would hurt Maya. It makes her feel even worse because she knows, in her heart, Maya wouldn't have done the same for her. That was the last time we really talked about Maya, and it's been a few weeks, but I know it's still taking a toll on Leah. That's why I splurged and let her get a kitten. It's been a small comfort. Maya doesn't know where we live now, but she's been relentless in trying to contact Leah, using text-free numbers to send messages. Leah has no interest in reconnecting. She's cut all ties. Maya isn't staying with my parents anymore. My mother-in-law, Amel, who I've never gotten along with, has taken her in. She's paying for Maya's college and even bought her a new car, clearly trying to spite me. I wish I were making this up, but she's actually posted about it on Facebook, as if it's something to be proud of. What makes it worse is that my ML knows exactly what happened to Leah. She's fully aware of Maya's actions, but she just doesn't care. In her twisted view, Maya is as much a victim as Leah. She even had the nerve to call Leah, using their dad as a way to manipulate her, saying, "Your dad would hate to see you hold a grudge against your sister over a mistake." That was the last straw. I told Leah not to respond to her grandmother anymore, and I've cut off all contact. I'm seriously considering filing a civil lawsuit on Leah's behalf against Maya. If my MIL wants to undermine my parenting and continue to support someone who's hurt her own sister, I might not have any other option. My therapist, though, doesn't think that legal action will help Leah heal. But I'm at my breaking point with the entire situation. Honestly, there's no neat or happy conclusion to all of this. In the span of 4 years, I've lost 3 people, my husband and both of my daughters. I'm not doing well. I'm deeply depressed. I've lost the love of my life, and now I've lost my little girl, too. She'll never be the same, and I can't bring myself to be around my other daughter, because I've come to believe she's a dangerous person. I blame myself for not seeing it sooner. And now, I'm terrified for anyone Maya comes into contact with in her adult life.